Take her to the holding cells.
Hi, I'm Cram, and today we're taking a look at Killzone Shadowfall. And basically we're going to look at the stuff that was shown prior to the PS4 being released, and looking at the game demo that was showcased and how that is looking in the final game, and some months later after the release, once people are used to the PS4 and what it's capable of. We've had games like Infamous Second Son come out, which is debatable now whether that's the best looking game on the PS4 or even the best next gen looking game. So we're going to look at this level and just sort of have a closer look at the effects and stuff that were used in creating that opening section where you arrive on the planet and you see all of that beautiful structures and that long draw distance and the excellent effects that we used to recreate that sort of living, breathing city. So we're just going to skip this cutscene and jump right in. Chapter 4, The Patriot.
This is Sierra 37 requesting clearance to land on platform 2. Over.
Copy, Sierra 37. You are clear for approach. Landing team on standby. Over.
So all this is out of your control. You've got no control of the camera at this point. This is a kind of almost pre-rendered scene. And again, what is the most noticeable thing here that was apparent when it was first showcased are the attention to details of the reflections on the glass. I mean, look at that waterfall. It's absolutely incredible. The spray coming off the waterfall. And then once you've landed, okay, the first thing I'm going to notice here and sort of point out is that as soon as you've landed and you've got past that kind of section, that flyby section, that a lot of the open nature of the level is kind of shrouded in the close proximity of the buildings that are near you here. So you're not having that huge draw distance. Obviously here you can look over and you can see got that flashing light's a bit annoying. I'll move over here. Right, and there you've got that sort of panoramic view of the city, but it's sort of being covered up by this building and the detail up close. That light is incredibly annoying. Let me try and move away from it. So one thing that, you know, has to be said, now that you're sort of off that pre-rendered moment, if you look at the trees in the distance, they are quite basic looking trees. I mean, there's some really neat effects that they've got, those people walking around. You know, they look like specks on in the distance there, but the trees are quite low quality. As you would expect. I mean, that's not something that you're going to be really focusing on when you're playing this game. I mean, you're going to be going through and moving on with the story, which is heading over in this direction. So what else you're going to notice here is the cloth, you know, this material being blown by the wind. That's an impressive effect. And again, you've got these flashing lights as well that are coming in from multiple directions, that are kind of filling the screen. So all this is being rendered whilst the background animations are filled with small touches, like again you've got these people over here. I mean, you can't really focus on much detail. I mean, you can spot a few soldiers down there, probably repeated models being used, and then you've got the normal people that are walking. I mean, when this demo was first showcased, we weren't looking at these kind of finer details. It was more of a showcase of the actual level and the effect. I mean, even in the distance, the snow-capped peaks and the statue in the mountainside there. It's full of neat touches. Again, if we look at the ground, you've got the sunlight reflecting off the tarmac surface here, off the bits of metal that are embedded into the tarmac. And again, if you look closely here, you'll see the red light flashing and reflecting off the metal in this sort of open sockets here, which is very impressive indeed. Not something that you would sort of immediately notice if you were just running through the level and sort of continuing the story. I mean, if we go and look over on this side, again, we've got some sort of low quality trees in the background, and they're actually static trees. None of them are moving. But then you've got that sort of incredibly impressive background detail of 3D models. They're not just flat models, they're 3D. I mean, I think this bit here, there's a lot of 2D in the far side detail, but as you move closer you can see that the things like the smoke, that's all in real time. And then you've got these kind of cloud particles. But again, those impressive kind of skyscrapers and the artistic direction as well. I mean, look at that tiny dot that you can just see up there. You know, that's a bird flying, a solitary bird. You're just tracking it now. See it moving down, and away it goes. So you've got all these kind of like flying objects, and again that sort of hazy look from the sun, reflective quality in the water, and then you've got this incredible VSA tower with that beautiful looking glass. So yeah, I mean, it's impressive. It's definitely a game that if you take the time to look at the finer details, you'll notice that they've done a fine job in sort of creating the atmosphere. So now we're going to look at a closer look at the character model, and again, you know, you've got some nice texture details. You can see that fabric, that body armor, and the attention to detail on his walkie-talkie, for example, and backpack. So, you know, from a design perspective, that's a pretty solid looking model. I mean, look at the creases in the fabric on his neck. I know that's kind of static, but you know, the shadowing detail, the folds in the fabric. And again, here we can just exemplify the shadow detail as well. You can actually see my character now, and all of the objects here have got shadows on them. So let's just move on. We've kind of spent a lot of time here. I mean, the demo that was shown, I think it was on the Jimmy Fallon show. You know, they kind of rushed through this level.
A lot of traffic passing through here today.
You're sort of missing all these fine details, like even the shadow detail off this railing here, which is impressive, and all these people as we sort of move into the plaza now. Right, and as you can see here now, the tree detail is a lot more complex than the sort of distant trees we were looking at earlier. I mean, if you look at this tree here, you can see that it's blowing in the wind, and you've got the petals or the leaves falling off, adding a different kind of effect. And now we've got the civilian populace as well. And again, you've got that sort of high detail on the material If you look closely, you see sort of blemishes in the material, the creases, and then the sort of character model. And again, you know, there's kind of a different level of detail on each character. Different sort of clothing. My slippers. Again, this is something you just would rush past, you wouldn't notice it. You sort of wouldn't notice that all of these characters are different models, different faces, and all wearing kind of different clothing, but set within a kind of futuristic style. And here's a female character model. Kind of blank looking expression on the face, not really sort of interacting with the character, which is a bit of a shame. But I think her eyes are actually following where I am. You see his head turning as I move around, kind of looking at me, wondering what am I staring at. But as I said, you're supposed to just sort of walk through this area and not really pay much attention. But I think she is actually the twin sister of this character model here. But anyway. Okay, moving on. So we'll go through the checkpoint.
Sorry, sir, just a formality. Okay, clear.
Access
Please
denied. Access granted. So you've got the foliage that's blowing in the wind. I mean, that's something we've seen a lot of in next-gen gaming now. The attention to detail in the foliage, sort of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily sort of look at, but it adds to the atmosphere. Just having that sort of mobility in the foliage. I mean, if it was static, it would wouldn't feel as nice. It wouldn't feel as alive as it does now. I mean, look at all of this detail that you're seeing in the foliage. I mean, that tree is just, you can feel that air blowing across the tree. You know, you can't actually feel it in the physical sense, but you can see it in the effect of the air. And obviously that's taking a lot of resources to actually produce that effect, because we couldn't get that on last gen games. I mean, I made a video of Assassin's Creed 4 which exemplified the sort of differences in the foliage from last gen to this gen. And you're sort of seeing it here. It's just adding a lot of vibrancy to this kind of level. Although, as I said, you're not getting that interaction with these NPCs. They're not really paying much attention to my presence or interacting in any particular way. But it's all about creating an atmosphere. And obviously, sort of beyond all of this sort of near side detail, you've still got all of these kind of floating craft sort of flying overhead. You've still got the textured surface concrete and the shadow details. If you just take a look at the moving shadow of that fern plant that's and then again, we'll just take a look at that water. These tiny kind of like bluebell type plants, all shuffling in the wind. Beautiful water with that lovely kind of turquoise blue colour reflecting. So sort of a fantastic job of recreating a futuristic vision in this particular scene. And then we sort of get to a pre-rendered moment where tranquility suddenly changes, and here we get that excellent looking particle effects and the bits of debris, and the physics used in this particular instance is incredible, really highlighting that the power so you'll be familiar with this particular scene. So now where there's a bit more action, I mean a lot of the detail is lost because it's now shrouded in this misty smoke, dust particles, and there's our enemy. And now you again resume control. So if we sort of go back to where we were, everything's got a kind of a dusty feel to it. If you look at the background now, all of that background detail is lost. It's completely shrouded in fog and smoke. Now I'm gonna guess that that's probably to do with the fact that there's a lot more action now, and we're getting into sort of the shooting mechanics. I'm getting shot at here, so it's obviously not a moment to be admiring the scenery, but I'm just going to point out the fire effects, the numerous light sources, and you've got all that kind of smoke. Now, one thing again that I did notice before, which I've made another video of previously, aside from the kind of destructible scenery that we got here, is the excellent ragdoll physics used for the character models. I mean, I'm not sure I'll get to demonstrate that in this particular instance, but in this game you really do see some excellent physics. I mean, the models don't merge into each other, they actually lie on top of each other as you would expect them to. I mean, a lot of games, bodies just pile up on top of each other, and there's no sort of physicality between each model. They just blend into each other. Whereas here, there's an actual physical presence to each model, which is incredible. So again, this scene here, you know, you've got all those independent light sources from all the different bits of fire. You've got that smoke and dust. And I'm about to be sniped. Like reflecting on the water as well, the fire. Just all in real time, and excellent looking detail on these steps here. You know, this is all stuff that you would rush past, you wouldn't notice it. It's all for effect. You know, you'd be focusing on shooting up the enemy rather than looking at these finer details. Just to see that a lot of effort. I mean, you can't get this on this level of detail on last gen systems. I mean, you can get something similar, but not to this level. And I guess the PC sort of gamers out there will be saying, yes, well, this is what we've been used to for many years. Welcome to the club. I mean, look at the heat haze coming from here as well. You've not just got the fire, you've got that heat haze effect. Absolutely incredible. Really sort of driving the atmosphere of this particular scene. think I'm about to be shot. There's a bit of up close. Kind of just jumped into that there. Just sort of use my health.
They're falling back into the building. Advance on...
I'm going to pretty much end it here now. I mean, I've pretty much covered everything. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on here. And obviously I'm about to get killed if I'm not careful. Yeah, and there's me down. So I'll get the owl to revive me. Too much concentrating on the what's going on around me and not the actual battle. Okay, well I'm going to leave it at that. This is Killzone Shadowfall on the PS4. And a real good example of a first party game utilising the power of the PlayStation 4. And just giving gamers excellent sort of locations and atmosphere to play through. I'm not going to pass any judgment on the actual game itself, but just these kind of graphic effects that are being used. Okay, I'm Rob Cram. Thanks very much for watching.